Everyone I know has seen the images or has tried to avoid seeing the images and video. Parents are wondering how much their kids have been exposed to. Do we have an accurate sense of just how much people are really discussing this issue? Are the algorithms deceiving us in some way?
Well, the algorithms are fundamentally distortive. They make the fringes look bigger than they are, is the real problem that we have with them. We've actually just completed some research looking at the 20,000 top tweets, the most viewed tweets after Mr. Kirk was shot. And only about 1.5%, so a tiny proportion, were either calling for retaliatory violence or celebrating his death.
That's not the impression people have, though.
Exactly, because the algorithms gave those 100 million views. So a tiny fringe are being amplified to the center. And what does that make us feel when we log on to our social media platforms? We're being flooded by both graphic video of the actual shooting itself, the tragic shooting. We're also being presented with people calling for retaliatory violence or people celebrating. And it would be perfectly normal, therefore, to conclude, gosh, everyone's really, really angry. Everyone, everywhere is calling for violence. When the reality is 98.5% of posts, and I think 98.5% of Americans, just like Governor Cox was saying, just want this to stop.
And yet that is the essence of social media, for people to feel as though they're a part of a community and an echo chamber, to feel validated that they feel something or that they might have an inkling towards something else. I mean, that if there is a fundamental distortion, then that is the heart of social media.
Well, social media's original promise was meant to be to connect people, but in reality what it's become now is a way of amplifying some voices, and most voices. Most of us go on social media or that post on social media. Truth is, our friends and family see it, but some voices are selected for amplification, and those are always the ones that engender the most emotional response. So we're looking at anger, we're looking at hate, we're looking at disinformation, things that engender a reaction. And what does that do? Bit by bit, over time, it starts to make the world look just that little bit more dangerous. It starts to create the conditions in which political violence almost seems justified. And that is not healthy.
What about China bots? Are they having a role in any of this?
Well, possibly. We don't know for sure. Russia bots, and the only people that would know for sure are the platforms themselves. But Laura, as you know, when researchers like ourselves try to study these platforms, they get very annoyed with us. Mm-hmm. They restrict access to data. They have in the past sued researchers, academics, even my own organization, for doing basic research to try and work out these things. Only they know exactly where these things are coming from, and they won't tell us. And that's why we at the Center for Countering Digital Hate, we've been calling for transparency. Yeah. We've been asking for ways for ensuring in law that researchers and the government and law enforcement can get access to back data from these platforms so we can start to measure exactly how bad things are.
Listen, I don't want to be dismissive or sort of deflect and scapegoat simply social media. People do feel strongly about a number of very provocative issues. Is it a chicken versus the egg? Is it a suggestion that social media is merely distorting or amplifying, or that the feelings don't exist? There seems to be a chicken versus the egg discussion happening.
It's really difficult to quantify, but we did some polling about 2 years ago now with children and adults in America and a couple of other countries, looking at their belief in various different conspiracy theories. What we found was that the most conspiracist age group were actually 14 to 17-year-olds. The first generation to have been essentially educated, socialized, raised by algorithms, which tell them what is, that present information to them. And what we found was that kids who spent more time online, the more time you spent, the more likely you were to believe these conspiracy theories, these wild, hateful conspiracy theories like anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, anti-LGBTQ+, anti-everything, anti. It's always about hating someone else, fearing them, and wanting to take vengeance against them.
That's scary. I have a 12-year-old. that window till 14 is shocking to me, and thinking about that makes me want to limit everything he sees. Imran, Ahmed, thank you so much.